Hello, 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 YouTube! My name is rhianaB. Welcome back to my RuPaul's Drag Race Season 14 review series, and today we are going to be talking about episode number 7. So another really interesting episode with some twists and turns that we did not expect, and things are about to get a little windy, as one might say. But anyway, before we get into this video, make sure that you hit the subscribe button as well as hitting the little bell icon to be notified about future videos, and also give this video a thumbs up because it lets me know that you like the video. Delving right into it, so basically we have the aftermath of last challenge where Jorgeous won, and some of the girls were not as pleased with her winning. In particular, we have the return of Bitter Betty in Daya, who immediately goes to Jorgeous and is like, "That's a beautiful napkin that you won the challenge with." And honestly, I can't blame Daya. Out of the looks that were in the top, she was not the one I would have picked. I mean, like I said in the last review, Lady Camden and Angeria had really brought it with what they did in that challenge, and Jorgeous, as cute as it just didn't stand out to me personally. And so I kind of agree with Daya here in that her frustration of Jorgeous winning, but of course this is also probably slight insecurity because Daya was not in the top this week as well. She was considered safe yet again. But Daya the next day did kind of apologize to Jorgeous, which obviously there's been some time since this episode has aired. There's probably no bad blood between the two of them anymore, but in this episode, I think there was still some tension, but I don't think that either one of them really want to focus on the other one's feelings. They want to focus on the competition, which is perfectly valid. So as much as people might say that Daya's apology was not sincere enough, at least it's something, and now the two of them can move on to the next challenge. So for the Maxi Challenge, we are going to be having a Drag Race soap opera bonanza with the Daytona Winds. So basically, this is going to be a very over-the-top acting challenge for anybody who has ever seen a soap opera, no matter what country it's from, like from the US to telenovela. I've been watching some Asian soap operas, or drama series as of late. It's a lot of overacting, a lot of emphasis on certain words and movements and things like that to make it all the more dramatic. And because Jorgeous was the winner of last week's challenge, she will be in charge of giving out the roles, which if I were Daya, I would just be like, I fucked up. Because literally I think she made the right call in apologizing, but also Jorgeous would not forget about what she said the aftermath of the last challenge, I should say. So I would be sweating bullets if I were Daya in that situation. However, Jorgeous was being very diplomatic about this, and she decided just to let everyone see what roles they wanted, and we would go from there. We honestly didn't have too many times where queens wanted a certain part. The only one was Jorgeous and Deja, who wanted similar roles, but other than that, most of them already kind of got the roles they wanted, which I think is probably the easiest way to do it, and probably wasn't too complex, unless they edited out a lot of stuff like that, but who knows. However, I do have to mention poor Lady Camden, who I don't know if she's just a slow reader or it just takes her mind longer to process certain things. I don't know, but she couldn't get through the script fast enough to catch up with all the other girls who knew what roles they wanted pretty much right away. So she ended up kind of getting the scraps of the roles, which honestly, if you are a smart enough queen and a talented enough queen, you can make that work for you. So I think as much as it really freaked her out that she didn't get the chance to really fight for a role she really wanted, I think because Lady Camden is an actress, has had some training, I think she could definitely make whatever role she got work best for her. The other thing too, and this is I think actually something that is a very big part of the soap opera industry, is that the scripts are long. And the thing is with soap operas, you really need to know your lines or at least be able to improvise because you don't have a ton of time to get this episode out. So you kind of have to like read it and hopefully you know what the scene is right on the dot right there. So for the fact that this is a very thick script, Godspeed to those girls, because holy crap, even me, and I have had some mild acting training and experience in the past, learning lines takes time, and for me, I would be struggling really, really hard to get all of that down in my brain. So we get to the rehearsal, which need we say RuPaul is directing this? And that adds so much more pressure on these girls because with Michelle and Carson, you kind of expect them to be like almost like coaches, but this is the person who's going to decide your fate. So you really need to make a good impression on RuPaul while you're in the rehearsal process. So the one thing that was actually really interesting was Deja bringing up how her little group of 3 went up first. And honestly, I never thought about this before, but it is a disadvantage to having your team go first in an acting challenge because it puts more pressure on you to on the dot be perfect. And if you are not, then the other girls can learn from your mistakes and they can do better and that can overshine you. I've never thought about that before, but it makes perfect sense. And I think that it's almost like when they do the comedy challenges, you have to have a lot of confidence and talent to go first in any of the comedy challenges. So you really just got to have faith in yourself that you can do a good job. So really quickly, I'm mostly going to be judging my opinion on the acting challenge through the rehearsal process because, good God, it was so hard for me to get through the actual finished product. And we'll get to that when it comes. But for right now, we are just going to talk about the rehearsals and most of my judgment is going to go based off of this. And the only really 2 queens we saw really kind of struggling in this challenge was Deja and Angeria of all people, which is so interesting. I don't know if it's because she was just getting in her head in this particular challenge, because we've already done semi-acting challenges in the past already, and she did a good job. So it's kind of weird to see her struggling right here. So I think she would admit she was probably in her head in this challenge, which is fair. It's a very daunting challenge to tackle, but I don't think she was nearly as bad. Honestly, not many of the queens were particularly bad. We just had some people that stood out a lot more than some of the other girls. So some of the standouts for me was definitely Jasmine Kennedy, and I don't know if she's ever had acting experience before or has watched a lot of Southern movies or movies that have Southern accents in them, because her accent was so like, it was so jokey, and that's why I was laughing so hard when I was watching her, because it's like, it was so like a non-Southern accent, but a Southern accent, and it just was like making me laugh so hard. It was almost like she was unintentionally being a parody of like a Southern accent, which is like, I don't know, I just found it really, really funny and hilarious, and it also helped that she looked very much like Alyssa Edwards' daughter, like legitimately her daughter. She looked so much like her with the big hair and the way she shaped her face. It was just like, it was a dead ringer for Alyssa Edwards, and that is bound to get you a pretty decent laugh. And then we had Diabetti, who I think really did shine in this challenge. Her and Willow in that little trio, to me, were just really, really great. And I think they talked about this on the runway as well, but having her lips be shaped the way that it was, it just added to the trashiness that is the character that Dia was playing. And the first thing I thought of when Ru had mentioned, "I love your trashy accent," was like, she's from Missouri. It's not that hard to do a trashy accent in Missouri, especially in Southern Missouri. Willow did really well. And then Bosco, I think, did a really good job as well. She really understood this character. And I think that goes to show how smart Bosco is with her references, because she was able to really bring in the character references and make it so special and so her own that it just made it all the more fun to watch. And her attitude was completely perfect. Also, Lady Camden. I would say Lady Camden was kind of a parody, but also taking it seriously, because the whole thing, she's like, "Maxine!" When she did that whole bit, it totally was what this challenge needed, but also she took it down, and I guess it made it more compelling to watch, but also my thought was, this is a little, like, subdued for a drag queen soap opera themed challenge, but I think it showed how smart and talented she was, so she did live up to what the challenge provided. So it was a little weird dichotomy there of, it was very much subtle, but it was the perfect amount of subtle and the perfect amount of slight funny to get to where she needed to be at. I also thought Carrie did a pretty decent job. I mean, honestly, everyone did a pretty good job of this challenge. Even Georges, who struggled in the last acting challenge, her doing all of her like, oh, you know, all the facial expressions and whatnot, and I'm sorry about the noises I made. I kind of just in the moment right there. But everyone did a pretty decent job, and the only two that really struggled, but it wasn't even that terribly bad, was Deja and Angeria. So it's really hard to judge who was going to be on the top and who was going to be on the bottom in this challenge. So the real only mirror moment we had in this episode was talking about the leather and kink community within the LGBTQ plus community. So they were talking about, and I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, and I don't have it in my notes, but there is a like leather and kink parade, pride parade kind of thing in San Francisco, where Lady Camden had talked about it because she is from the San Francisco area. So they were talking about these communities, and I think that's actually really a good thing that they were able to talk about this, because I think Pride is definitely turned into a more audience-friendly, family-friendly type of event, which isn't a bad thing. By all means, it is not a bad thing. But there's also like the more like naughtier side of this community, and I think it's really cool that we got to talk about it in this episode and how instinctive and how important that community is as well. It's just as important as regular Pride, and all aspects of this LGBTQ plus community, they are valid in how they live their lives. And again, as long as you're not hurting anybody, who gives a shit? Or at least, you know, they're asking for pain. It's not like, you know what I mean. But I thought it was a really cool conversation to have this, and not one I think we've ever really had before. So it's really cool to have this conversation pop up. So on to the runway. The theme is chaps on the runway. So first up we have Deja Skye. I do not like this. I don't like the clashing of the blue colors. I think also what bothers me is that it's like a sequiny type of fabric with just a regular stretch leopard print. I just don't like that combo particularly together. I think her makeup and her hair look amazing here. I think this is probably one of my favorite makeup and hair looks she's done the entire season so far, but I just do not like, I just don't find it interesting, and I'm not a big fan of the clashing of the patterns. It's just not hitting it for me, and unfortunately I have to give Miss Deja a boot. Next up, Carrie Colby. This is a choice. I don't think this was the challenge for you to do an all hair look, because this is the one challenge where you gotta show your body and gotta kind of flaunt what you have or make it work for you, and to cover your entire body in hair that looks like it's like balding in places is just such a weird choice, and I don't understand it. The only thing I do like about this look is the hair. The hair to me was perfection. The long, like 90s Christina Aguilera type braiding that goes all the way to the floor, that is perfect. I love that so much, but I just don't like this look. It's just not the best of Carrie Colby. I just wish she had taken an opportunity to really show off her body. So with that being said, and because she's covering all of her body in hair, I gotta give it a boot. Next up is Jorgeous. This is conflicting for me because it's really cute. I really love that, like, almost like lingerie or like a not a bathing suit, but it's like, you know, bra and panty bejeweled moment. I really enjoy that. And the lace is a nice touch, but girl, those are not chaps. Basically, it is you putting on tights and you decide not to hike them all the way up and to give the illusion that it's a chap. And that is where I have the problem here. And also that's why it makes it difficult, because she didn't follow the challenge. It literally looks like her tights are falling down her hips. It just is such a weird cut on her body as well. It's just, I don't understand it, but it's not an overall bad look. So it's so strange for me. I don't know. I really don't know how to feel about this look. I think I have to give it a boot because she just didn't follow the challenge. So I'm sorry, but Jorgeous, you're beautiful and the look isn't bad, but you didn't follow it, so I've got to give it a boot. Next up is Miss Angeria, and finally we have a look that I really enjoyed. This is really cool. I love this. It's like black Cher, golden goddess at Studio 54, 70s realness. Love this look. The color is beautiful on her skin tone. She rocked the long straight hair. I mean, she always does her makeup very, very well. And I really enjoyed it. Is it simple? Yes, it is. But I kind of forgive it because of how perfect it looks. And honestly, it's the first look I saw tonight that made me be like, okay, you met the challenge and it looks good. So I think just for that, I have to give this a toot because she met the challenge and it looks great on her and she knew how to rock it. Next up is Miss Jasmine Kennedy. Girl, what the fuck? I'm conflicted on this because I actually really love those chaps. It's almost like almost a semi-full body boot, which I think is a really clever and cool choice to make. But why are we at graduation, girl? I do not understand why this had to be a graduation inspired. I mean, have you seen anybody rocking full boots or chaps at their graduation? I know I never did when I was in high school or in college, so I don't know. I think this is, again, Jasmine trying to, like, put the real dragginess into the look when it didn't need to be there. I think it's, again, her trying too hard, or she thinks she has to, like, come up with a really crazy concept for the look to stand out on the runway, and you don't need to do that. I think she just needs time to realize that you do not need all the bells and whistles to have a great look. So, as much as I love those chaps, I'm gonna give it a boot because I just do not understand the concept. Sorry, girl. Next up is Lady Camden, and oh my god, this moment made me gag. I had heard rumors on social media at the time that she had like fallen on the runway, and I'm like, oh my god, that must have been terrible. This girl thought of doing a fall, the last thing any queen wants to have happen to them, and turn that into a reveal? Like, mind freaking blown. That is so smart, and it just made me love the look all the more. Not to mention that the reveal was Freddie Mercury. Like, how genius is this? Like, literally, I could not stop smiling. I was so impressed. I loved this look so much. It was just pure perfection to me. So good. And even if she had walked onto the runway with what she had before she fell, it would have been a pretty good look as well. Although I do think the Freddie Mercury thing was the best part of it. The beginning look wasn't bad either. So, like, I have to... do I dare do it? I think I have to. I've got to give this a shoot. I think I have to give this a shoot because the theatrics of it all just made me so happy. And I'm like, yes, like, work it, girl. Like, I don't know what else to say. It was, I can't even speak. Literally perfection. I'm giving this a shoot. Next up, Daya Betty. This is the Daya that I know and love. This is the Daya I usually think of when I think of her drag aesthetic. She loves those really clean kind of cuts, shows off her height, her body, is a reference to some sort of like older time. So this could be misconstrued as being like so this can be interpreted as an 80s power suit that women would wear in the workforce with the shoulder pads, but you can also say it's also kind of like 1940s. And I think it's just so clever. How cool is it that she literally made chaps out of a pair of tuxedo pants? Like, that is not easy. And whoever designed this look, like, kudos, because that look is really, really, really nice. I think overall this just is really, really good. If I had to be super nitpicky, I would say it probably would be interesting if she had a different hair color-wise, or maybe could have added some like volume to the hair, because it did look a little flat. And other than that, also the sides of the chaps were a little loose, but I'm gonna kind of forgive it because it's kind of meant to be that way because it's made out of a tuxedo pant. So those are the super tiny little nitpicky things I could think of, but overall, the look is great. So I'm gonna give this a toot. Next up is Willow Pill. I mean, what are we still doing here? Like, literally, like, this is amazing. I mean, what else can I say? This is amazing. It's so fun. It's so creative. I don't, what else can we say about Willow freaking Pill? Because the hands are such a weird, fun, kooky thing to come up with. The idea of giving yourself an atomic wedgie. And also, I didn't notice this when I saw this on TV, but watching it again, I could see, like, that's like rainbow iridescent black leather or pleather. That is really a nice touch. It works really well on the runway, the glasses. She's also showing off her ass, and she's got a pretty good ass. So I'm just like, I mean, well, I don't know what else to say. Honestly, this is, again, a really great Willow look. I've got to give it a toot. What else can I say? Next is Bosco. This is really cool. I like this. This is a very, almost like feminized leather daddy type of an approach. It's almost like a leather daddy or a girl who's really into leather wanted to be a hippie, but also wanted to be feminine. Like all of that into one look, and it works. It's really, really cool. I love all the fringe. It adds a lot more movement to an otherwise pretty static fabric. And also the color choice was really on point. I love the hair. The only thing that bothered me a tiny bit was that the chaps were a little loose in the inside of the thigh. I think if that were a little bit tighter, I would have loved it all the more. Or it could have been like really like, I don't know, like really hugging the thighs, and then it would flare out into like a bell bottom type of a thing. But other than that, this is a really cool concept. I really enjoy this. Probably one of my favorite Bosco looks that we have seen so far. And also kudos to that girl, because those panties had rhinestones in the crotch, and that must not have been comfortable on your inner thighs. So I will give this a toot. So what I mentioned earlier about the end product of this acting challenge, it made a lot more sense that they called it the Daytona Wind, because basically the whole acting challenge was one big fart gag. And I understand that, you know, fart gags in comedy is very subjective. Me personally, I could not sit through the whole thing because it just kept being a distraction to me. Really the only good part about it was that seeing the reactions of the queens who didn't realize that this was going to be a part of the end result. I just could not get through it. I really couldn't. I'm not somebody who's really into fart gags, or like do it once. Hey, it's funny, it's cute. The more you do it, it just becomes way too much. And I'm like, did this really have to happen? I don't know. I don't know who came up with the decision to do that, or if it was Ru, but I just did not. I don't know. This is probably one of the acting challenges where I'm just like, nope, I don't want to watch. I'm good. So other than that, we actually have another big gag of this episode, and that is there are no bottoms this episode. All of the girls did well enough where no one is going to be on the bottom, and the lip sync is going to be a lip sync for the win. So, like, that blew my mind. I was so shocked by that. But we do have tops who are going to contend to be in that lip sync for the win, and it is Gorgeous, Jasmine, Lady Camden, Diabetti, finally in the top, Willow, and Bosco. And I do agree, all of them I think did the better job in the challenge, but in consideration of the runway as well, I do agree that Lady Camden, Diabetti, Willow, and Bosco did deserve to definitely be on the top. I think Gorgeous and Jasmine, they did a good job in the acting challenge, especially Jasmine, but just the runways just didn't hit it for me personally. So I do agree with the tops. And for our top two, we have Lady Camden and Diabetti! I was so happy to see that she was on the top. Obviously, I love her and I want to see her do well in this competition. I was just so proud of her. I will say I kind of thought Bosco would be up against Camden, but at the end of the day, I'm happy about Miss Diabetti being in the top two. We go to the lip sync, and Dia, I love you, girl, but honestly, Camden kind of took it from you. And I think you're a great lip syncer. You know I love your lip syncs. But Lady Camden, I think, just embodied that song to perfection. She was in the perfect outfit to dance around in. The mustache reveal was just such a cute little thing to do. And also, it does help Lady Camden that she is a dancer. And that how this song and being a dancer, it works really well. Daya just doesn't have, she's not a dancer. You know, Daya doesn't do lip syncs quite like that. And as much as I think Daya did a pretty good job with the lip sync, it was no contest. Lady Camden was the winner. She did win, making her the top winner of this challenge. So yeah, this has been a pretty interesting episode, to say the least. I also want to talk about this because I feel like we didn't discuss this in the last review, but I want to give a big congratulations to both Bosco and Jasmine for coming out as transgender women. And I just think that that is the best thing for the both of them. So congratulations on both of you for speaking your truth and living your authentic lives. You have support behind you 100%. And I, along with many others in the Drag Race community, wish you all the best with your futures ahead of you. So yeah, that's basically it for this episode. I'm, again, trying to get caught up. Bear with me. I'm getting there. So with that being said, thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. Leave me comments down below. What did you think of this overall episode? The challenge, to the runway, to the no bottom and top 2 lip syncers of the week. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. And also don't forget to hit subscribe and hit the little bell icon so you can be notified about my future videos. That's all I have for you all today. And until the next video, bye. Mwah.